Good morning and welcome back to another Amazon selling video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Keuirg and 2023 is going to be my 8th Q4 selling on Amazon. I can't even believe it. I counted them up yesterday. I can't believe I've been selling this long, but I absolutely love it and that's why I still do it. If you are not familiar with what Q4 is, it's really mostly, well, I know it for retailer, but really it's any kind of business speak for the fourth quarter. So no matter what calendar the business uses, they could use the typical calendar or they can have their own fiscal calendar. Some businesses start fiscal year in March. Anyways, most of the time it's normally January through December. So that makes Q4 that October, November, December time frame. It's also the holiday time, right? Which is when most retailers do most of their business, unless they're into some kind of specialty when their business is, fireworks. That's July. So for the most part, Q4 is the most magical time of the year, and especially for an Amazon seller. Last year for Q4, I set a crazy goal. I just picked it off the top of my head. I said, I'm going to do $100,000 in sales and at least $30,000 in profit. How I ended up actually is even more bananas. I did $168,000 in sale and over $44,000 in profit in 3 months. That's $14,666 of profit a month or $478 of profit a day. So if that doesn't get you excited for Q4, I really don't know what will. Because Q4 is the most magical time of the year, all month of August coming up, I'm going to be going over ways that you can prepare for Q4 starting now. It's a question I get asked, honestly, throughout the year. How can you prep for Q4? And for the most part, there's not a whole lot of prep that you really can do besides getting ungated. So now that we're in August and Q4 is just weeks away, now is the time where you really, truly can start to prep. Here's a sneak peek at my most profitable items last Q4, and besides that first one, which is the toy bundle that I created on my own for the first time ever created a bundle last year, everything else, well, not everything, but most of the stuff is BOLO leads. So my Q4 BOLO group will be opening at the end of the month. Stay tuned, sign up for my newsletter. You'll be the first to know. So it's going to be opening, and it's opening earlier this year because September really is like that bonus Q4 month. It's when you're really getting into it, you're getting the hang of it, and we're all going to be in a community together sharing BOLOs, but also sharing just random things that happen in Amazon. In this group throughout the quarter, I do live hangouts, so they're on Zoom. They are recorded if you're not able to actually make the hangout, but we chat about both BOLOs, how to prep for Q4, what we're looking for like right now, stores we're sourcing. People are asking questions, other people are answering them. You're not just hearing from me, you're hearing from this whole awesome community of sellers. So again, stay tuned. That Q4 BOLO group is opening at the end of August. In this video on how to prep for Q4, we're going to be talking ungating and auto-ungating because, like I mentioned, that is kind of the very first thing you can be doing. You can do it year-round, but if you're interested in it right now, you still have plenty of time to get ungated. What gating and getting ungated is when you're scanning stuff and you see either a red restricted bar or a grayed out restricted bar that says request approval or you need approval or it's restricted, you can't sell it. That's what it is. So Amazon gates categories and brands. So brands can gate themselves, but Amazon gates categories and everything to kind of protect the consumer because pretty much anyone can sell on Amazon. And I'm sure we've come across some or heard of some less than stellar business sellers, you're running a business sellers. Anyways, not everyone is on the up and up. And so Amazon's protecting its consumers, as they should, from sellers who are selling counterfeit and all that kind of stuff. So they gate certain categories and brands. When I started, grocery was gated. So I had to get ungated in grocery. Nowadays, I think it's currently gating as of this recording. It's gated again, but over the years that I've been selling, I've seen it get ungated and gated for new sellers. So it really just depends when you start what it is. And not only that, every Amazon seller's account is different. So I had to get ungated in Under Armour with an invoice. Some new sellers are able to just ask for approval and get ungated in it. It's really crazy. Amazon makes no rhyme or reason, which drives me insane. But as part of the fun of selling on Amazon and just the ups and downs, everything keeps fresh. Always something to learn. So to get ungated, if you're not auto-approved, which we'll talk about in a second, but to get ungated, you need an invoice or a letter from a brand authorizing you to sell their products. The easiest way to do it is to get that invoice. And now a lot of people get confused. It's an either or. You don't need both. You need an invoice or a letter from the brand. So to get an invoice, you find a supplier, you order products, everything has to match what Amazon says, so it's usually 10 items, yada, yada, yada. There's a whole thing that you've probably seen when you see the request for invoice. So you order them, you send it in, you get ungated. As I'm sure you're aware, I have my own ungating guides, which walk you through step-by-step how to get ungated in the various categories. So from toys, topical, which is the beauty category, grocery, OTC. I have a ungating guide for the premium brands, so Adidas, Adidas Original, Nike, Amazon, Under Armour, all of that in the guides. Inside the toy and topical guides, I give you 3 different suppliers for each. So if you got the bundle, you'd be having 6 suppliers. So you can choose the one that works for you, or you can order from all of them based off of what they have. But I walk you through step by step how to set up your account with them, how to order with them, how to submit your invoices to Amazon, and all that. They also each come with their own group, so you can ask questions in there. I'm in there answering questions, as well as other sellers who have gone through the process, so we can help you out with your ungating journey, and you have that community of sellers to chat with. So those are available on my website. You can buy them anytime. But now I want to talk about auto-ungating, because this is super important, and you should always, always, always ask for approval. Just because it says that you cannot sell it doesn't mean you can't sell it. Go ahead and ask for approval, and you might just get auto-approved. When you've been selling for a while and you have like a good account health, your standings are all good and all that, things start to open up for you as a seller just automatically. So in this video, I'm going to go over the brands and categories that I got auto-approved in when I first started, and how you can go about asking for approval for those categories and brands when they opened for me, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask right now. Not all brands are going to open like that though. So for example, Star Wars and Lego, those are almost never going to auto-approve for you. They're always going to need an invoice. So there is that to keep in mind. If you've been selling for a year or two and that brand is still gated, but you're still finding lots of profit out there, it might be worthwhile to find a supplier and get that invoice. One question that's asked really often right now as people prep for Q4 is, what brands should they get ungated in? And I almost never answer it because it's really hard to answer. I might find lots of stuff in one brand, but you're never going to find that stuff for whatever reason, because sellers like to scan different stores, sellers like to scan different areas, categories, and just there's so much flux in what each individual seller is going to scan and sell. So when I got ungated in toys, I placed an order, a massive order to get ungated on a lot of brands. I think it was like 8 or 9 brands for, I think it was $500 I spent on the order. And one of those brands was Melissa & Doug. That was in 2018. Not until 2022 did I find one thing, and only one thing, that made money in Melissa & Doug. So that ungating was kind of a waste of money. I don't know if it would have opened automatically for me or not in the meantime, but I ungated that brand and it wasn't even worthwhile. The reason I did it is I just went crazy and I ungated a lot of brands. Whatever brand I could find on the supplier, I went through and I ordered something if they had something relatively cheap. My friend Becky, however, she has been selling Melissa & Doug for her whole time. So she finds stuff all the time. Meanwhile, I scan it. I just never find anything that makes profit. So it really does vary based on where you're at, what you're scanning, all that kind of stuff. So the best thing to do if you're wondering what brands to get ungated in is go ahead and make a note on your app. And when you're out scanning in stores, make a list of brands that you see in your area that you consistently find that make profit, but you're gated. And those should be your go-to brands or categories to work on getting ungated. Now, when you're out scanning and you're seeing things that are gated, it's important to keep in mind that there are some, but very rarely, some categories and brands that will never be open for ungating. So LOL Dolls is a perfect example. When you click on it, it won't even let you submit an invoice. Even if I had an invoice, I cannot get ungated in LOL because it's just locked down. Premium Beauty is another example. So Premium Beauty is just never going to be open to anyone to get an invoice or not because it's locked down and protected by Amazon and those premium brands. If it lets you apply though, even without an invoice, go ahead and submit, like request approval, because I have heard of new sellers, again, randomly being ungated in premium beauty, and I'm very jealous, but also know if you're going to sell in premium beauty, if that happens to, it's a little bit risky because of IPs, so just be aware of that. But just one more time, like, always ask to be approved. You never know what's going to open for you, and it doesn't hurt to ask. So when I started selling in 2017, like I said, I was gated in everything, just like most new sellers are. If you were one of those new sellers who was ungated grocery when you started, I'm super jealous because I was gated in everything. So I started in August of 2017. In September, I finally started to place an order to get ungated in grocery, and just grocery. I got ungated in October, and it opened up so much. The grocery category is huge, and if I was going to restart selling all over again, it would still be the first thing that I would ungate because there's so much profit in the grocery category. Now, why I waited to get ungated is probably just like you. Like, I started with limited funds, and placing a $200 minimum order to get ungated in grocery was a huge expense and one that I wasn't totally sure. Like, I had limited money for my inventory, and so I was just hesitant to drop $200 into something that's really not going to make money at the end of the day. You will hopefully break even on it. Maybe you'll make $1 each item if you resell it. You don't even have to resell the stuff that you buy to get ungated. But it is a business expense, and so that's one thing to remember is you're running a business. All these expenses are tax write-offs, and it's like leveraging to get this whole other category opened at retail where you can make a lot of profit, but it is going to cost some of that upfront money. So that is why I dragged my feet, and I only waited 2 months. And I can tell you that I was kicking myself for waiting those 2 months. That's how important that category was and is. So after ungating grocery, I was able to find enough product that I was okay to wait to look for these things that were going to auto-approve for me, auto-ungate. Because I had heard that after 6 months of selling, a lot of categories and brands will auto-ungate. So I was okay waiting that next couple of months to see if that happened. When that 6 months hit, I sat down at my laptop and I did what I'm going to show you, what I would recommend that you do. You don't necessarily have to wait for 6 months. You can do it some sellers do it every week. You can sit down once a month and do it, which is just find random products by the brands that you want to be able to sell and ask for approval. Literally, just sit at the computer, go to Amazon, grab the ASIN, put it in your seller account, see if you're approved. You don't know what you might be approved in. You don't have to physically scan the thing. You don't have to sell it. You're just asking to be approved in it. So here I just started with a frozen toy to show you. Now I'm using this box here. It's called RevSeller. It's an extension that I have used pretty much since day one of selling on Amazon. I really don't know what I would do without it. It lifts all the important information. So the sales rank, the rank category, the ASIN, the UPC, how much it weighs, how much profit you're going to make. All of that information right at the top. Otherwise, you would have to scroll down to the product page to get the ASIN, and honestly, it is worth it. They've given me a code. I think you get $20 off your first year if you've never used RevSeller, and after that, it's like $99 a year. It is a tool that I have been using, like I said, since I started. I don't know what life would be like without it, but I imagine it would be pretty annoying. So using RevSeller, I get to just click right here and it takes me right to my Amazon selling account. As you can see, I'm already approved to sell frozen. So then I went over to an LOL doll just to show you, and you can see here that this is what it looks like when you can't even ask for approval. It's just restricted, shut down, like locked down, whatever. Can't be approved. Now, ideally, you want to get ungated in a lot of things with like one item, right? So I went to my selling applications to see what I have scanned recently that I'm still gated in that I need to invoice, and this Aqua Lounger is one of them. So you can see here that on RevSeller, it's telling me I am gated, so I'd need to request approval, which is easy, one click. Now you see how it has this, so I need ungated in the ASIN, but also in the brand. So when you click through, this box over here at the side is telling me that I have 3 different things that this one product could ungate me for. Now in this example, it needs transparency codes. So if you don't know what transparency codes are, they are basically tracking serial numbers to kind of track where the product came from. So because of, I can't remember what year it was, but a couple years ago where people were looting and shoplifting and everything was real crazy, so they started enacting transparency codes to basically track the product. So if you buy it, it's going to say XYZ sold it to TJ Maxx sold it to you, and it's just tracking the product. So to get ungated for transparency codes, You literally only need 5 of them. So you have 5 of the product. You would take a photo of the transparency code, send it to Amazon. This is what this first process is looking for right here. So it needs the transparency code. After that, I would need to get ungated on the ASIN level. Sometimes this happens. ASINs are locked down on an ASIN item level. And then I would need approval to sell in the brand. So in the ungatings, I walk over this, but like you want to make the most of your order, right? So if you happen to find a frozen Uno card, like a frozen Uno card game, that could ungate you in Mattel, it could ungate you in Disney, it could ungate you in Frozen, it could ungate you for the toy category. You would see everything that an ASIN is going to ungate you for, just like you're seeing here on my screen. So you want to make sure if you can make the most of it, it might mean some digging, it might mean more time on your end to dig and find a product that's going to ungate you for as much as possible with just one ASIN. So here's what it looks like in this example. Again, I would need to have all of these transparency codes. I would submit that, and then it's going to take me to the next one, and you would do, the invoice for that ASIN and all of that. Okay, now here are the brands that I got auto-ungated in after 6 months of selling. I'm going to drop the list in the video show notes so that you can come back to it. Start right now, but just every month, make a process. Make a brand list on your own, on your phone, just like I talked about with getting ungated, that you want to ask for products for. You don't have to spend your time doing it in store if you don't have the time. I like to make the most of my sourcing trips and make them fast, so I just will make a quick note and then move on to scan other things. So when you get home, you can go ahead and go through the list. After 6 months of selling on Amazon, I got ungated in Barbie, Hot Wheels, Mega Bloks, Thomas & Friends, Hamilton Beach Kitchen Products, Disney Princess, Nickelodeon, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, Spin Master Games, PJ Masks, Play-Doh, Keuirg, Skip Hop Baby, Leapfrog, Enchantimals, Seychelles, I don't know how to say that, Tomy Toys, Etch a Sketch, Manhattan Toys, and the toy category. Now, if I hadn't gotten ungated in all those brands, also the toy category just opens some toys. It doesn't open all the brands, because in the toy category, you have the category and you also have all those brands. So like I said, I had to place an order to get ungated in Marvel, in WWE, in Mattel. Shockingly, none of these things opened Mattel. I had to get ungated for Lego, Crayola, and then of course Melissa and Doug. After 7 months, these are the brands and categories that I also got auto-approved in. Infant toys, Topical, which was awesome. I didn't have to place an order to get ungated in beauty. I really lucked out there. Dietary Supplements, Pet Supplies, and the OTC category. Now, OTC, they're asking for more documents, so you most likely can't just get auto-approved in it anymore, because they're like, hey, that's like an important category, we should probably lock down a little more. So there are documents that are required with OTC. I do explain how to get them in the Topical and Grocery Ungating Guide. So if you do want to wait, you can wait for things to auto-approve, but I am telling you, just like grocery helped me, that getting ungated as soon as you can actually makes your life so much easier and is the best way to prep for Q4 at this point in time. Because so much is going to be open to you to sell. And when I tell you that everything sells during Q4, I really do mean everything. Every category. Things sell like crazy. You're going to run out of inventory, most likely, so you want to do everything you can to not do that. So that means having a wide variety of different categories and brands that you can sell so that you can have the most assortment possible to make the most profit this Q4. The cost of ungating really varies. Some of the suppliers don't have any minimums. Some have $200 minimums. So plus the cost of the guide, you're looking at, a relatively small sum of money when you're talking about, I made $44,000 profit last Q4, so maybe $500 might be worth it to ungate all these profitable categories. Like I said, you're running a business, so all of these expenses, whether it's the BOLO Group, the ungating guides, the ungating orders, your softwares, all the things you use for your Amazon business are business expenses. They're tax write-offs. They help take off that tax liability of what you owe come tax time. So if something's going to help your business, Don't let like that hold you back when you can grow X amount by just using this one thing. So definitely get the tools, get the software that you need that are going to make your business and your life run smoother. Now, in the comments section, let's make a list of brands that you have gotten auto approved in so that we can all go through and ask and see if we can also get auto approved. So like I said, in the show notes, it's gonna have my list, but let's add in the comments other brands that have been auto approved so that we can all go through and look for those brands and see if we can get auto approved. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back next week with another Q4 prep video. Until then, have a great week and happy sourcing.